Respected dignitaries, guest of honors, special guests, awardees, friends, family, and our dear audience. On this beautiful note of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, I welcome you all to begin the celebrations on the session 2 for the 75th birth anniversary of R.S. Gadgil, the revolutionary healthcare legend. On this auspicious occasion of the 75th birth anniversary of my father, and coincidentally also Father's Day, let me take the opportunity and pride in introducing you to the legend of R.S. Gadgil. His magnanimity and lived life king size is very well known. Brilliance, excellence, wisdom were words he exemplified. With deep thirst for knowledge of medicine and love for education, he pioneered continuing medical education in the country and empowered various associations like API, IMA, MAP, ICC, CSI, RSSTI, ASI, IOA, TraumaCon, VIROC, and doctors as well. Fostering relationships with love and care, he earned the most precious wealth of friends, colleagues, and extended family, like you all from all over the world. He always had a special place in his heart for the medical fraternity, the medical practitioners, who showered him with the immense love and respect, and he was held in high esteem amongst three generations of doctors. His 4 decades of long journey in healthcare started right from penicillin with towering success at companies like US Vitamins, Alchem, and Aristo. He became the revolutionary marketing guru of the Indian pharmaceutical industry. What the leader he was, he mentored, trained, taught many, and nurtured his teams by training, teaching science and MBA students for years. He wanted his students, his followers, to develop themselves, rise, and succeed. Having enormous passion for branding and profound knowledge of science and marketing, he created several top brands like Monosef, Flexon, Glycomet, EcoSprint, Gemcal, Nicocin, Ondem, Doxy1. The list is really endless. 20th and 21st June, we are celebrating his 75th birth anniversary, and he continues to be our guiding star even after more than 7 years of his loss. The deep pain of his loss, yet memories full of happiness, drive us every moment towards his deep purpose of reducing disease burden and achieving the health and happiness. True Wealth actually provides integrative health and personalized nutrition advice to control, prevent, and reverse lifestyle autoimmune diseases as well as infectious diseases to help reach the ultimate goal of holistic health and happiness. With, of course, our integrative health and nutrition clinics in several therapy areas with our internationally trained and experienced healthcare experts, and our integrated website, which helps us with online consult and spreading education and awareness as well. With that, of course, last but not the least, Energia, a division of RSG Nutrition and Healthcare, is developing responsible evidence-based nutrition formulations. Only is what I would say, targeting specific indications. That's what we have been doing, taking his vision forward. R.S. Gadgil always wanted to start the RSG Wisdom Forum. Humility, integrity, stewardship, discipline, courage, passion, perseverance, lot, of course, as the pillars. But the aim was to collect, decipher, and propagate the wisdom and excellence of legendary medical practitioners, leaders, and teachers from around the globe. He did that when he was living. He did that. He did great academic conferences and programs, and the idea was to enable the forthcoming generations to gain the in-depth expertise and experience to further excel and provide exclusive service to mankind in reducing disease burden and taking the wisdom and excellence legacy forward. I'm sure all the panelists present here truly believe in this and are doing that in their great way, and which is what we are trying to capture through this awards program today. A small clip of the earlier videos, earlier awards that were given. awardee, Dr. D. Nageshwar Reddy.
Thank you.
Yes, and I would definitely want to. Well, I hope this has stayed a surprise for you, but we have Dr. Ajay Kumar here, uh, your good friend, to do the introduction. I would like to call upon him to do the honors.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Actually, I was on. Sorry for this thing. I was on my journey from out of station, so just stopped back on the way. First of all, thank you very much. Uh, First thing, before I go on to Nagi, my thanks for giving me an opportunity to see Professor Shrikhande again after long time. My hero for a long time, and of course, one excellent talk by Salish. Well, it's my proud privilege that I've been given the opportunity to introduce Nagi, Dr. Nageshwar Reddy, at this meeting, at this award, prestigious award. Well, a lot of people know a lot of things about Nagi. He's an internationally known figure. He's, of course, we all knows the chairman of AIG hospitals. But for me, the introduction goes back to exactly 38 years when we met for the first time at PGI Chandigarh. Well, Nagi has been a revelation for all of us. When we first met him, we knew him for his simplicity. Very simple man. Ordinary clothes, no flashing, nothing. Full of sincerity to his patients, empathy, taking full interest in their patient care. And what impressed us during those days, in addition to his simplicity, that he had only two works to do, to look after his patients and to read. A serious scholar, all the time spending either in the library or in the wards. We'll never see him outside anywhere. We lived in the same hostel, we never saw him there. As the time went by, Nagi has gradually revealed himself in a very gradual way. He started showing his passion for endoscopy and the way he worked hard. Hard work is something which all of us can learn from him. I've been working day, nights, 18 hours a day without a break, without a holiday. And nobody across the world isn't even knowing what is cooking up in Hyderabad. The way it evolved, and it showed is another thing, silently working hard for his passion, and that is endoscopy. And when the people started believing that he's gone into total endoscopic world, which is more of a glamour, more of a more related to surgical, he was gradually giving shape to his dream. And that is a long journey. I can keep on talking about it. What he was trying to do is to build up a team and build up an institute which the country is proud of. Actually, we all feel great by looking at his all these qualities coming up and making him, helping him to make a great institute which entire country is proud of. And he set up a new model, is a low cost, high end care, which all of us can take example and move ahead to provide answer to our patients. During all this, what he has shown is a steel frame that is, if he has made up his mind, he will not deviate from that. He will take opinion of everybody. At the same time, will build up his institute, not compromising on his values, not compromising on the ethical aspects of the patient care. And so we have a full personality, which is always a rare combination. And then while doing all this, he's also excelled in the research in the medical field and published exponentially at the same time, getting all the awards that is feasible. I can't even name them, all of them, and I'm sure that everybody is aware of that. So Nagi, we really are proud of you. And the last thing that I like to add, it's very rare. That's the best compliment that I can give. It's very rare that your friends, your colleagues become your role model. So for me, from a friend, from a colleague, he has become a role model for us, and not only for me, for the huge different two generations of endoscopists from our country. And above all, he's still proud to be an Indian, and he will never compromise on that integrity. So Nagi, it's been a great privilege for me to have this opportunity to introduce you, and thank you very much.
We would like to thank Dr. Ajay Kumar to accept our request. He himself is chairman and HOD of the Gastroenterology and Hepatology at VLK Super Specialty Hospital in New Delhi. He's a renowned clinician and a skilled therapeutic endoscopist with more than 30 years of clinical experience. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our request. And I would like to mention Dr. Reddy's assistant, I would say, Satyanarayana. He really has helped us put this act together. And I would like to share some of the pictures which, we've sort of tried to steal from maybe from your laptop or computer. I don't know, but this is what he's shared with me. And this is what we know sir as, of course. But do we know him from his childhood? These are some of his memories that we are trying to share out here. Some more of the black and whites. And of course, the family. Further in color, the next generation and the next generation, the extended family. And of course, then the pride, the Indian awards, international awards, and then excellence in, of course, endoscopy and other procedures, but also in education, social service, and then really taking us on the map of the world. That's Dr. Nageshwar D and Reddy sir for us. I'm sorry for stuttering, but we would really want you to address us with your keynote address. We're really looking forward to it, sir.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks a lot. It was a very pleasant surprise to have Ajay. Ajay is not only my closest friend, but somebody I admire a lot as a human being. So to get him to come on and talk about me has been, I think, for me, it's a fantastic experience. Also, I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I knew R.S. Gadgil a little in the early phase of my career. He was a person who would be, I think, somebody who had so much energy, was always very positive, and every time we met, we would talk about the next academic session or some meeting that we could organize. It was such a great experience actually being with him. And I think, Rajesh, you're continuing the same tradition. Extremely glad that you started this, and I'm humbled to be part of this meeting, especially because I think we just heard two great talks by Sanjay Desai and Shailesh. I think both of them have not only contributed immensely in their field, but have been great ambassadors for our country. Coming to what I'm going to actually talk about is, I think, basically, I don't know whether it could be called a keynote address, but it's just a thought process that I had of what we should think of as a clinician to be beyond a clinician. Because all of us, when we finish our medicine, then go into our subject of interest, we develop a passion for certain areas. Like I developed a passion for endoscopy and work on that. But I think just being a clinician or a technician doing these things for patients may not be enough. to actually excel and have the wisdom to do something for our people in general. So let me start my journey a little. I don't want to bore you too much, but just to say that I did my MBBS in an obscure place. Actually, very few people know about this, Kurnool Medical College. I graduated from there and went to do my medicine, internal medicine in Madras Medical College. Three things happened at that time, which are significant, so I should mention that. First, I met my wife, Carol, there, and of course, one of the best decisions that we did was getting married, and we continued to stay that way. Then I developed an interest in gastroenterology because at that time hepatitis B virus had come, and I was fascinated by that. Dr. Bloomberg, who won the Nobel Prize for discovering this virus, actually had come visited at that time in Chennai, and it was fascinating to see what he was doing. So I got interested into gastroenterology, and of course, I also was actually a colleague or a postgraduate with Mohan Vishwanathan, which was again a significant influence because you can see that Mohan's at that time, even at that time, was starting to publish a lot, and I realized the importance of publications in whatever you do. I then went to do my DM at the Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education Research in Chandigarh. At that point of time, my interest in gastroenterology shifted from hepatology to endoscopy, largely influenced by a charismatic leader, Dr. Jang Dilawari. You saw his picture previously. So this is how my journey evolved. And then I came back to Hyderabad in 1984, joined an institute called Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences, which is still the leading government institution in our state. Of course, endoscopy was still very primitive, and you can see here the scopes were very thick. We didn't have proper, and this was actually the governor of our state at that time, Mrs. Joshi, and I was trying to show a lesion in a patient, and you can see how I had to take off, and she had to look through this, and I don't even know whether actually she saw what I was seeing. So you see, it was a relatively primitive field when I entered into endoscopy about 35 years back. But I knew at that point of time that my passion was for endoscopy, mainly because I had a good hand-eye coordination, and I realized that this is a job I could do well. So that's how I got full-time into this. I was working in a small clinic called the Medinova, where we had an outpatient clinic with few beds, and we're doing ambulatory endoscopy procedure. Very, very primitive at that stage. It was that point of time that something happened that changed. My colleague, Dr. G.B. Rao, and myself were actually practicing at that time. And what happened was, in the surrounding state, there was a chief minister's wife had stones in the common bile duct following laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Middle of the night, I was called to do an ERCP in her, so I had to flow. In fact, he said he sent his chartered flight, so I had to flew there to his city and did a emergency ERCP at 12 o'clock in the night, and then removed the CPD stone. He was so fascinated with this that the chief minister said, "Why don't you come and set up a big institute in our state? Will give you everything." I said, "No, can you help me out doing something in our state in Hyderabad, because that is where I want to settle." So he had this building which was meant to be a hotel. One of his, I think, known to him had this, and he said, "Okay, I'll do this. I'll help you out. I'll give you." Actually, it was given on just like a donation to us. This whole building of 300 rooms. So he said, "Okay, you can start your institute there if you want, and we'll help you with that." So that is how it was. It was actually a lot of luck. I think it's also important to realize that we've heard the previous talks. A lot of excellence comes because of hard work, training, and all. I agree with all that. But I think there's a lot of luck or chance involved in many phases of your life. You tend to get lucky at for part of your time, and then you have to grab these opportunities. Whenever you get a chance, grab the opportunities, because this is what will make a difference eventually in your journey. It has small steps, but ultimately it leads to your ultimate place where you want to be. So we started this institute, 300 beds. At that time, they said, "How can you have an institute of gastroenterology? There won't be enough patients for that, 300 beds. How are you going to fill up and all that?" But what we did was, we were very clear in our vision before. We decided that we will have 3 pillars on this institute would come up with: clinical service, research training, and community service. These are the 3 pillars. So we had actually a huge thing written up on mission service in our institute: of service with compassion, academic excellence, and research and training. This was all over the institute based, so that you sort of feel this whenever you enter into the hospital. We started with a small number, just was me, GB Rao to start with initially, then rest joined. Ultimately, in a few years' time, we developed a large number of medical, surgical, and you can see pathology, all related to gastroenterology. And of course, we had a total of about 1,000 employees in this place, which was, I think, at that point of time, reaching its peak. So a typical day was like this. Very crowded it was. We used to see, thousands of patients in different ways, outpatients, inpatients. And sometimes it was very difficult to step into our institute because of so many numbers of patients. And I think people who told us, why do you want to start a separate institute of gastroenterology, now actually realize that what they said was absolutely wrong, because if you see the numbers at that point of time. So about a few years back, actually, there was a lot of analysis done. In fact, there was a dissertation on why AAG was successful, and what the conclusion on this was that gastroenterology was actually an allied specialty, which is an untapped market. You had oncology institutes, you had cardiac institutes, but never a gastroenterology. So this was the initiative which actually clicked because of that. It was a one-stop destination for all GI related. We had high patient volumes. We had full-time salary staff, and like Ajay was mentioning, from the beginning, our goal has been to give affordable care. So a lot of people actually used to criticize me, saying you're getting down the rates of endoscopy, getting down the rates of ERCP. What you should do is to set a bar, and you should not come down. But we decided from the beginning that we should try and give affordable care. We'll have large numbers. Sometimes you have to work extra hard to make the same money, but it's worthwhile because that was very important. We, of course, had all under one roof, all types of gastrointestinal treatments under one roof. And we decided that the most important thing was to establish a trust of faith among the patients. So patient came first. This was a slogan we again had throughout the hospital, that patient comes first. So we started building up our practice with this. It was, like I said, it was predominantly a full-time job. No doctors were allowed to practice. All of us were salaried. It was very transparent who got how much, and this was based on seniority and so on. We started to increase the outpatients. We started to do a lot of endoscopy procedures. And again, like what Ajay said, we were known for endoscopy. We started introducing many of the procedures for the first time. And of course, this grew very rapidly. And our passion was that whatever instrument or new technology that comes to Asia, we should get it first in our center before it goes anywhere else. And fortunately for us, we could do this because we developed a deep liaison with the manufacturers. They would first try out the instruments with us, and then it would come out commercially. So we were, in that sense, the leaders, because many of these things came out first to us. Of course, it was important to establish a very nice library, training systems, and so on. And of course, the second lesson we learned, very important, was that it is very difficult to produce very large volume, good papers in good journals just by ourselves in a single institute. What people were looking at was multicentric studies. And unfortunately, in our country, we don't have the experience for these multicentric studies. So we started collaborating with a lot of international universities, and most of our publications then later on became a part of this collaboration. We realized that if you want to really produce high quality papers, share your experience to international audience who value it, then it has to be through this multi-center studies. And this is what we could do very successfully. We, of course, invested in technology, and this was the first human robotic system that we developed with the Singapore engineers who were working with us. We started using other allied sciences to help us, and this is how we developed a lot of support from ISRO. I'll come to show some of the support later on, but we were very closely associated with ISRO, which helped us. We started developing tele-robotic methods, and of course, it was another important thing that we realized that in our country, there are many institutions which have high quality other sciences, IITs and Indian Institute of Sciences. So we developed a deep collaboration with them. And again, a lot of our projects are coming in collaboration with them. We developed, again, something that is not very common in most of our hospitals, a center of innovation and engineering. So we have actually engineering faculty as a part of our hospital staff. If any staff member gets an idea of a device and so on, he just has to go. We have a workshop in the hospital where he can make this device, try it out in the animal lab, which we have below, and then can come to clinical work. So the whole thing forms a tight circle within the hospital so that we can innovate and, of course, get very quickly to what we're thinking about with this methodology that we started using. So we started, for example, along with Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, developed this endoscopy simulator, which the cost has come down markedly. It's just costing a few thousands compared to the actual cost, which is very high. We had several brand ambassadors who helped us propagating this institute, and that also becomes very important. And of course, we started innovating in terms of doing many of these things for the first time. Of course, I think when you do all this, when you have a very competent team with you, the awards follow. But what was very important, we realized very early on that again, you can do a lot of excellent clinical work. You can be also very good technically yourself, but unless you have a translational research unit with you, we can't translate many of our ideas into reality. So what we did very early on is we created this Asian Institute of Basic Science and Translational Research, where we got PhDs in molecular biology and so on to come together. In fact, this is not very expensive in our country. You just have to give them a little space, and then they come together, and then we created this Translational Research Center, which is recognized by DSR. So we got a lot of funding from Department of Biotechnology, ICMR. We have Wellcome Trust, Hemsley Trust, all of them funding us. In fact, this is an advice that I'd give to people who are developing institutions, the younger generation, that think of translational research. It's not too expensive because there are very high-end people available at very low cost in our country. And most of this can be supported by Department of Biotechnology and Department of Science of India. They are actually looking for centers who can do this. So we actually latched on to that, got a lot of funding, so we could do a lot of research based on that. And you can see that we had collaboration with many international institutions. This resulted in a large number of basic science papers that we've come out with. And this is also very exciting research because, for example, chronic pancreatitis in India, we never knew what was the cause. The tropical pancreatitis, cassava was given to this and so on. And as Dr. Mathur is also one of the eminent leaders in the school, will tell us that sometime back it was thought that it was malnutrition and so on, and people are getting operated for that. We realized that what was causing this was actually a genetic mutation. We discovered the gene for this, the SPINK1 mutation, which has been widely published everywhere. And this again, I think, gives us the satisfaction that we did work in areas with these new discoveries. I think you get a satisfaction that something is coming out. Similarly, another area where we've been working is islet cell transplantation. We have ability now to isolate the islets and then put them back through the portal vein or hepatic artery, especially in type 1 diabetics. But now we're starting to thinking about doing it in type 3 also, and already started working on that. So this is a publication in a very high impact journal where we showed that using encapsulated islets put into non-hamate primates, you can actually do even heterozygous transplantation. So this is again, as I said, a lot of satisfaction you get by this. Almost everything funded by basic science department from the Department of Biotechnology. And again, I think all clinicians should think beyond being a clinician into translating some of this and getting translational sciences into your practice. This, of course, the consequence again is the several papers that many of our colleagues could publish in very high impact journals, several international textbooks that we could contribute. And one of the things that we have done very early on, and which again is something I think is very important for all hospitals, is to start this biobanking. Every tissue that comes out in AIG, either surgery, endoscopy, and so on, is biobanked. We put that, depending on what you want to do, it's either in -80 or -190 because you want to do DNA work or RNA work and so on. All is biobanked, archived, along with an archiving center in Oxford University. We got this knowledge how this should be done. Everything is biobanked in the institute. This is very important because 10 years down the line, if you want to get tissues to see what is happening, new discoveries, I think you can always retrieve this tissue and then work on it. So this is, I think, something that we emphasize. The third pillar of what we're doing is community service. In fact, one of the things, unfortunately, in our country is that although we build these tertiary care centers, we do a great job in the cities. Most of our patients, 70% of them are in rural areas. They don't have access to medical care. So what we thought was we should launch these community service centers, just done some years back, about almost 10 years. Here we took the help of ISRO, where having this satellite on top of our hospital, we could communicate with every part of our state by this satellite communication. Now it's, of course, we have so many other things, but this was 10 years back. We didn't have this technology, but fortunately ISRO gave us, and we built these vans which are self-sufficient. We go to with distant villages, set up camps where our people would see the patients, and then of course we do all these procedures in this camp: endoscopy, ultrasound, colonoscopy, gather a huge amount of epidemiological data, and of course they were very grateful patients. As you can see, typically a van like this is in the village. This is a process continuing for a very, very long time. We have actually finished treating now about 1 crore people with this in our state. You can see this is a very successful, low-cost way of reaching out to people. And of course, you earn the gratitude of the people. You can see endoscopy being done through the telemedicine van comes to our department. By sitting here, one of us can actually view what's happening and tell the junior doctors they're doing endoscopy what can be done. This again is an experience which has been fantastic, and you can see a lot of publications that came from that. And this model is being duplicated in Kenya, Indonesia, and several other countries based on what we did. And sometimes sometimes it was difficult. In fact, this was villages cut off by surrounding water. We couldn't reach there. We had to take all our equipment on this raft here. And when you reach the village, you see these very eager patients who are waiting for us. No doctor has visited them for several years. So I've been asked, why are you doing this? Why this mobile endoscopy units? And how is the economic model? I think the economic model is very simple. When you do something good, you get a lot of donors, the industry supports, there's been private donors and so on. But I think more important than all this is collection of course, epidemiological data, delivering cost-effective care to our patients, and a tremendous amount of staff satisfaction. Our staff are going to do this. They are extremely satisfied with what they're doing. So at this point of time, about a few years back, our chief minister then came to our clinic, and he was surprised to see so many people standing there. He couldn't walk into the old hospital very freely. So he said, why don't you start a world-class hospital? I'll give you this land, about 10 acres of land in a prime place in Hyderabad. I mean, I told him, we can't do a world-class hospital, but probably we'll do something which is world-class in terms of our specialty in gastroenterology. So we started building this. You can see very long back, it took us a long time to break the stone and then create the base. And then over a period of time, you can see from where we started building this, again, a lot of help from friends, donors, banks, everything to build this institution, which is the AIG hospitals now. And you can see as this institution is coming up, in the background, you can see a lot of high-rise building. This whole area has been transformed completely into the Neo Hyderabad, which is actually something you can't recognize when you see immediately. And so we built 2 blocks. The one on the left is the clinical block. One on the right is the research block, purely devoted to, we have about 45 scientists, PhD, basic scientists working there. And this is the full hospital. We got, of course, because we had this knowledge of how this could be built, we built it up into a very modern unit, having everything that's needed in a modern hospital. And not only this, we've had, I think, we are fortunate in having a lot of artists donating their art to us. So you can see a sort of art in this thing. We concentrated, of course, on our main interest, that is endoscopy. And I've been telling, in fact, I told the chief minister at that time, my aim in life is to build the best endoscopy center in the world. And I believe we achieved it. And Ajay would agree with me. In fact, Ajay has been here several times, that the endoscopy unit that we built, anybody who comes anywhere in the world would come and say, okay, we want to do something like this. You can see real state-of-art endoscopy. We have about 30 endoscopy suites. We have, of course, the training lab. This is the animal training lab in the basement, which I feel is important. All hospitals should have training centers where doctors, junior doctors can be trained. And this has been very fruitful to us. Over 1,000 gastroenterologists have been trained in endoscopic procedures, new technology, and so on in these animal labs. We have, of course, the state-of-art studio. This has been built to us by CNN, where we can transmit all the procedures into one studio, and from there a single person can operate or transmit it to any part of the world. An auditorium to support this. And one of the important lessons I learned building this during the whole journey is that human relationships are very important. It's very important to actually have a group of people who don't have too many egos coming together, thinking. And when you start thinking together, it's totally different when you start thinking alone. I think together we are strength compared to when you're alone. And this is very obvious. We meet very often, all of us discuss things. And this is, again, resulted in many world congresses that we've been participated in. In fact, we're able to get the first World Congress of Endoscopy into our country. And again, for me, this is a humbling experience that somebody, a small town boy coming from Kurnool Medical College, unknown city, went up to become the president of the World Endoscopy Organization. And of course, you can see the president of the European organization, American organization, Japanese, all coming under the umbrella of the World Endoscopy Organization. This was the peak of the achievement for me. And of course, the Schindler Award, which has been given, never been given to anybody outside America for last 60 years, was given this year. So this again is a reflection not to me, but I think to all the colleagues, all our endoscopists in our country on the transformation of what happened. Of course, I took you to this road, which is a long journey that happened. It was, I think, again, like Shailesh was saying, that something doesn't come overnight. You have to do 20 or 30 years of hard work before you become known. Our destination is still not known. We don't know how long it will take, but hopefully we should continue with this journey as long as we go. And finally, again, all of this, what I showed you, has been achieved not by a single person, but a team. We have a great team of people working with us, and all together, working together, have put this together. And again, I'd like to thank Rajeshri for this very kind invitation.
I would just want to say one thing, is you're really reflected what my father, R.S. Gadkar, wanted to actually bring together in the, when he wanted to have this wisdom forum together. So that, just as you said, not just discussions, but more of coming together and taking things to the next level is what, he always would, he was a visionary in his field, so he would always keep talking. I think Dr. Shailesh Vikate did mention Dr. Ramamurthy earlier, and I still remember when we lost Dr. Ramamurthy, and when we got the call that he's no more, Dad was extremely saddened, and he said, years where we should have preserved his wisdom together. But of course, he has taught so many students like Dr. Shikhande that this is exactly what this Wisdom and Excellence Initiative is trying to do. And it's very kind of you to actually be with us today and accept this award. And who else but we would want to have Dr. S.K. Mathur with us to present the award. And I believe, sir, your wife is also here, Madam Reddy. So I think we'll also try to add her to the screen.
I know that she can come on to the video.
Oh, yes.
She's there, yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, I would request Dr. S.K. Mathur to present the award and say a few words.
Nagi, I'm too small a person to present an award to a person like you. You are an institution by yourself. What you showed is how to amalgamate a business model. I'm using the word business because that's what it becomes. But I know that your business is with a passion, and the passion is for the poor. It's not a business model which you have created. It's a business model to earn the profit to grow like $1 million or $1 billion. So I'm using the word in a different way for you. It's a business model with passion. In the medical field in India, unknown, because what you have created is an institution which often we see in our country only like PGMI or the AIMS. Something similar to that, something similar to or better than that, what you have created. An institution of excellence where you treat the patient as well as do the innovative research. It's not research which is a reproduction of what others have done. It is basically a newer thing. And again, making it at a low cost model, as a low cost model. And that's what is excellent about the whole project which you have embarked since 88 onward, and what you have taken it to this height. I may not agree with you that yes, there's a part truth that you have to be at the right place and the right time and the right opportunity. But I think all that it gets created when we say there is a third power which controls. And that should be kind to us. I'm sure the God has been definitely kinder to you, not because he wanted to be kind to you, because you forced him to be kind. Your actions,
When my turn
which were
comes,
pure. See, I believe in this. Sanjay
it's good.
quoted Vedas in the beginning, and I said it is very close to my heart, that topic. It is vibes we created around us, our intentions, what we do a thing. If they are pure, the things fall together. Things fall together. Opportunities get created and things happen. So what you had that night when you had to travel to another state to do something, okay, that therapeutic endoscopy procedure was a God gift to you for your something which was going on in mind you want to create, but you were not getting the opportunity. Anyway, not everyone can do this type of thing, and the teamwork. I have seen that the way you have carried your colleagues, not only in the medical field, but the surgeons. And being a surgeon, I know that surgeons have got big egos. Okay, to keep them as a part of the team for such a long period, it's an art. So I admire you for that, to keep the whole team together, because I know most of them are working for you for so many years and work according to your interest. That's what is important. So once again, congratulations, not only for getting this award, but for whatever you have achieved so far. And I'm sure that you will achieve much more than this. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very much, sir, for those very kind words. Coming from you, it's very important for me. And as you say, that we'll continue to work, hopefully, as far as we can. Thank you very much.
Well, on this panel, of course, I would like to bring in one more God. I would say one God is already there, Dr. D.N. Reddy, and then we have Dr. V. Mohan. If we could add him to the panel while the award is being presented. Bear with us.
Sure.
Well, I think a lot that's familiar between the two. We are very happy to bring them together. And of course, the next award is going to be him. But Dr. Mohan, would you want to say a few words and then,
Absolutely, Rajshree. Nothing would give me greater pleasure than to talk about my long-term friend, right from my college days, Dr. Reddy. It's very interesting because Nagi and I joined Madras Medical College, the MD. I did my MBBS there, he did in Kurnool, and then we joined MD together in the year 1979. But strangely, I had a 2-year MD and he had a 3-year MD because I had finished my senior house agency. So I actually finished my MD 1 year ahead of him, although we were classmates. A very funny situation. It doesn't exist anymore. So during those 2 years, the first 2 years, we were actually classmates, and I could see the passion in Nagi at that time. Of course, I didn't know about his gastroenterology interest. I think that came slowly, a little later. But of course, I knew of his interest in Carol, and I'm seeing Carol now, I think, after 40 years. Hi, Carol. So that I knew. And but I knew he was brilliant, and I knew that, I mean, when the 1972, when he showed his MD that he was the best outgoing student, was a foregone conclusion. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And then, of course, his days in Chandigarh, where he was outstanding there. And then, of course, he carved this niche for himself. And this is an area which is not easy to establish, and to become the world's #1 in any particular specialty. It's not easy to become a Sachin Tendulkar or to become anything in any activity. To become the world's #1 and to stay there is not easy. And I don't think with any hesitation anyone would deny that Nagi Reddy is the world's top endoscopist in the whole world. There's no doubt. For the sheer experience, the sheer numbers he has done, I don't think you take 20 of his compatriots across the world and add their experience together, they will not be able to match Nagi. Now, what's very interesting is that despite all his, the time that he spends in doing clinical work, he has managed to do not only research, and usually a clinician will do some case series, 10 series, 1 case report, interesting case report. Most clinicians do that kind of research. He started doing cutting edge research when a clinician doing cutting edge research, collaborating with engineers, collaborating with basic scientists is something unheard of in the private sector. I think Dr. Mathur mentioned that in PGI and then AIMS, you have to do it because you're a teaching institution. But in a private institution, to do that, to set it up and to keep it going, and these are not just fads, one day you did it and the next day you gave it up. He continues to do that. And you saw his publications in some of the best journals in the world. So I don't think Nagi actually has a parallel in India, not only in gastroenterology, but in any specialty. And therefore, as a classmate, I'm extremely proud of him. I think his work is the best is yet to come, as we always say. And for Nagi, every few years, he springs the next surprise and goes on to, he sets the bar higher and higher. That's something I'll be talking about in my talk, because excellence really has no limit. And therefore you keep, and Nagi, I think, would be the best example of that. And so Nagi, my very best wishes to you. I'm sure you're going to take this country to greater and greater heights, and the sky is not the limit at all for you. So from the bottom of my heart, my very best wishes and my heartiest congratulations. I'm one of your biggest fans, Nagi.
Thank you, Mohan. In fact, I was telling you, it's not that it's a mutual admiration society, but my interest in publications, research, and all started Mohan. In fact, we are together, and I've seen that already as an undergraduate, it published so much, and he just sit down in the class and keep writing papers, and then the clarity of thought. I think that's something that I realized was very important, and I keep quoting him always. I mean, not that he's here now, but always as somebody, as a clinician who should think of publications, then this is very important. And of course, Mohan was one of the first ones who knew about me and Carol. That was also very important.
I knew Carol's father also, so.
Rajeshri, can I make a comment? Just. Hello, hi, sir. I'm Ashish Bhumkar. I'm an ENT surgeon from Thane. Completely mesmerized by your life. I mean, what you have presented, the glimpse. I did not know that the gastric lining has a brain tissue and, more importantly, a tissue for ambition. What an appetite for excellence, passion, and incredible. Hats off to you, sir. I had to say this. I was most touched to see this is sort of a vision that a clinician should have and translate it into a reality. It's incredible. Very, very inspirational.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you.